We want to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out. Pastor John is going to share some information with you. We're excited for him. He wrote a book, and it's fantastic. I read it.
All right.
This is really echoey.
Is that better?
Is that better? Better? Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to him so he can kick it off.
All right, thank you very much. I haven't been here for a while, so I have about an hour and a half worth of announcements to bring to you to make up for the time I haven't been here. No, just kidding. I'm Pastor John. I'm the pastor here at the church, in case you don't know who I am. Somebody asked me about the for sale sign. If you didn't know, about a year ago we started getting some offers for this building. We didn't think they were really good enough, but we thought that maybe this was going to be a property that was going to be a hot commodity as far as the development along the Rock Road. And so we put the building up for sale. We've gotten a few nibbles, but nothing real serious yet. But property is really starting to move now in the Bridgeton corridor there on the Rock Road. And so we're hoping that something will happen in the next couple, 3 months. We do have a contract on the church. It's the Bridgeway Church up at Mark Twain Lane and McKelvey, which is not very far from here. They have an auditorium that seats about 400, so there'll be plenty of room for you all to meet there, and it's not that far away from here. So I handed out a flyer, and I'll put some more of those flyers back on the back table. And I'd like you to just look at those flyers for a second. You know, this is the fall season in the church, and we're very busy. So if you look at the one sheet that's got our upcoming events, I just want to promote those real quick. So the first event coming up will be our Trunk and Treat and Haunted House. The Haunted House is open on October the 26th and 27th. We take our warehouse area back here and convert it into a haunted house. And we have a group in our church called the 234 group, 20s, 30s, and 40s. And that's the group that handles that. But now we're calling the group the 234 plus, because some of the 4s are now 5s. They want to stay in the group. So, and there may even be a 6 or 2 in the group. So anyhow, it's a 234 plus group. Anyhow, they do it. They do a bang up job. It's only $2. So we encourage you to come for that. Then if you have younger kids, grandkids, school age, younger elementary age kids, we have this Trunk and Treat out on the parking lot. We have about 15 cars out there. And then we have this Halloween festival, which is games and crafts and things like that for the younger kids. And we'll also be serving chili. So mark the date on that. Then if you move to the next one down below, November the 3rd is our annual Fall Festival. It's about the, 12th year or so that we've done the Fall Festival. And we have about 30 different vendors who are here, and you're welcome to come in and buy some craft projects or whatever suits your fancy. If you know someone that's a crafter and they want to be involved in that, just have them call the church office, and Lisa will give them the information about having a table in that fall festival. If you jump over to the right there, you see we're having a trivia night Friday, November the 30th at the Bridgeton Community Center. We do it at the Bridgeton Community Center for one reason only. And I love saying this as a pastor in a church, because there we can have alcohol. Yes. Again, our 234 plus group has been encouraging us to do that. So we have alcohol. Anyhow, the theme is Christmas in November, so all the questions will come from Christmas categories. So if you're a trivia person and you want to get a table together, they're $15 a piece. Just call the church office and let us know, or call me, and we'll get you on. We have a maximum of 20 tables, and right now we're up to 12. So we have a little bit more room to grow with that. The last thing I want to promote is on the flip side. As was mentioned, I wrote a book called The Verse After the Verse. I promoted this, I think, the last time I was here. And what I promised to do was that for every book that I sold through the Moms Group, I would donate $1 of that book to the Moms Group. So this isn't much, but it was the first go-around of sales. So I have a check for $26 for the Moms Group. So there you go. So I probably got about about 300 more books to sell. So if you buy some more books tonight, I'll be selling them after the meeting tonight. If you buy some books tonight, again, it's $9. I do take plastic, and I'll donate $1 of the sales to the Moms Group. This will be the last time, I promise you, I'll push this book, okay? So if you look at that sheet, we did, there's an organization, professional organization that does book reviews, and we submitted my book to the book review, and they gave us a wonderful review. Now, they reject a lot of books. This isn't something that's automatic. They reject a lot of books, and they have a lot of good things to say, and I put one of their quotes on that handout sheet that I gave you. So, all right, well, I think I've got all those announcements out of the way. One other thing, don't look at that clock back there, because it's only right 2 times a day. Hopefully by Sunday we'll get a battery put in it, or otherwise I'll be preaching for a really long time on Sunday. So let's open up our meeting then with a prayer. Gracious God, you gather us together after summer. Summer is a time when lots of folks do traveling and experience different parts of our country and even different parts of our world. We thank you that you've been given safety in the travels of all of our group. And now as we organize and come back together in the fall, we remember and realize the important task that is before us as stewards of the great planet that you've given to us. So as this group continues to move forward with their goals and expectations and their requirements for making this particular area free of any kind of poisonous material, we just pray, oh God, that your wisdom and guidance would be upon the leadership and upon those folks who give of their time and energy to the Moms Group, that truly what we say and what we do will make a difference and will preserve this environment, not only for us, but for generations to come. Now bless our gathering together this night. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. And I forgot one other announcement, and that is that I've written a study guide to go along with the book. It's about 35 pages long. If you buy the book, I will email you a copy free of charge of the study guide. If you bought a book the last time, I've got a sign-up sheet. Just sign up and I'll send you the study guide. Okay, I'm done before I think of something else. All right, thank you.
Safe and permanent solution. We didn't prepare for this meeting, so mostly we will spend some time doing some thank yous, and we really kind of want to hear from you guys. If you have questions that we may be able to answer from the meeting that we were in today, in the announcement meeting, we are going to show the clip and press conference that Administrator Wheeler did this morning. While we were in the meeting, we also got to see that conference live. So I think we'll start off to recognize any elected officials or representatives in the audience with us tonight, and former representatives.
Randy Haynes, Councilman, Ward 3 in Bridgeton. I just want to give a shout out to Linda Eaker, former councilwoman in Bridgeton.
State Representative right here in District 70.
Anybody back there in a bright shirt? Anybody? Anybody in a bright shirt back there?
Hi, Bob Terry.
Hi.
Anybody else? Former reps? Oh, there's another.
I'm Bill Otto and I work for
very interesting. I remember the first time I heard about it, this angry woman called me and asked me where the hell I'd been. I had been in office about 32 days. But this has been quite a journey. I'm proud to just even witness what's happening here. So thanks so much, guys.
Okay. Moving. No.
Somebody's running, okay.
Okay, and foremost. Okay, you're up.
Kevin Camps from Beyond Nuclear. Hi, Kevin. Washington, D.C.
Okay, there's a whole slew of other people that, you know, we want to give shout outs to. We don't want to leave anybody out. Personally, for Dawn and I, Lois Gibbs and Stephen Lester with CHEJ has been our mentor, has really gotten us to where we are today. Through her work through Love Canal, her advice, her pep talks, and so very appreciative to Lois. Rebecca Camisa, the HBO film Atomic Homefront, and the other filmmakers, Safe Side of the Fence and First Secret City, again, wouldn't be here without those folks. So we wanted to make sure we recognized them. Ed Smith. Ed and I remember the first day our eyes met. Oh boy. Elected officials. Our four federal congregation, Wagner, Blunt, Clay, and McCaskill. Again, they pushed for us, and here we are. You know, you're going to see two of them speak in this press release up here. It's been a pretty amazing day. Is this perfect? No. It's not perfect. But it's good. And it's the path to the direction we need to go to. We need to start being able to heal as a community together. Who am I forgetting? Matt Levianchi, the fire department. SSM Help, and Pattonville School District, and the Franciscan Sisters of Mary. Relentlessly out there 2 times a month, holding signs, praying for this community. It's huge. So there's a lot more. We'll probably think of them as we go along. We want to turn to, first of all, have you guys seen the press conference that was on today with the administrator? Has anybody seen it? No? Okay. Good, then we'll show that. Let's just go to that.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, I just gotta get this started. More? Oh, sorry. What happened? Sorry. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened.
Mr. Chief Justice, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered
Hang on.
today for a ceremony of recognition.
Darn YouTube.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming to this important announcement. I would like to acknowledge all those in attendance at the Bridgeton community event. Thank you for your assistance and participation in today's event. Today's announcement is the culmination of years of hard work by a lot of people, and I think it's only appropriate to begin by recognizing their efforts. First, I'd like to thank our EPA site team that has poured countless hours of work into making this day a reality. A special thanks to Jim Guilford and this Region 17 for all of their hard work. And I'd like to acknowledge the staff members from the Office of Land and Emergency Management, the Office of Enforcement and Compliance Assistance, and the Office of General Counsel who have been an invaluable part of this effort. Especially like to thank Senator Blunt and Congresswoman Wagner for being here today, but also for, I'm grateful for your leadership and your attentiveness to West Lake. Without your support throughout the last few years on this, we would not be here where we are today. And I thank you both for coming, and thank you for your attention to this site. It's been very important. I know the people in the community there appreciate everything that you both have done. Thank you also to the Congressional District staff members for joining our team in St. Louis, including those from the offices of Senator Blunt, Senator McCaskill, Congresswoman Wagner, and Congressman Clay. Thank you, Bridgeton Mayor Terry Briggs, for all of the support you've provided for our meetings in Bridgeton. I'd also like to thank our state partner, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, and two of our many federal partners, Colonel Brian Sizemore of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, St. Louis, Colonel Douglas Gooderson of the U.S. Army Corps in Kansas City, and I understand Carol Palmer is here in the audience from Missouri National. Hi, Carol. It's good to see you again. Finally, I'd like to recognize all the community leaders that have dedicated so much of their time and resources to the site. I don't have time to mention each of you, but I would like to give a special thank you to the Community Advisory Group Chair Harvey Ferdman and your team, and Kate Robin and Mary Coalition for the Environment, and Ron Chapman and Karen Nickel, who founded West Lake West Lake Landfill Superfund site. This action reflects President Trump's commitment to return EPA to its core responsibilities: clean air, clean water, and clean land. For too long, West Lake has been a blight and a burden on the people of Missouri, specifically in the city of Bridgeton. And for too long, Washington has failed to meet its obligations. Under President Trump, that is changing. We've made a commitment to finalize a cleanup plan for West Lake Landfill, and we're delivering on that commitment. In February, EPA issued a proposed plan to amend the remedy to address the contamination of the Westville Lake Landfill. Today, we are finalizing that plan. This will end decades of uncertainty and pave the way to the remedial design phase. Once the design begins, it will take about 1.5 years to complete. And once the design is complete, construction work for the remedy can begin. This decision is compliant with the law. It's based on sound science, and it considers the state's, and most importantly, the community's positions and concerns in accordance with the National Contingency Plan. The improvements we've made to the proposed plan will reduce exposure to the community and cleanup workers. It will speed up construction time by 1 year, and it will allow the flexibility to more efficiently remove the contamination from the landfill. And I want to emphasize that again, remove the contamination from the landfill. By focusing on areas with higher radioactivity, we are removing virtually the same amount of radioactivity as the preferred alternative in the proposed plan, while minimizing the amount of material that has to be handled. About 61,000 cubic yards less of the non-radioactive waste will have to be handled, to be specific. Thanks to those improvements, our final remedy will be completed 1 year sooner and for $30 million less. We believe this decision strikes the right balance and emphasizes the health and safety of the community. We have worked hard to regain the community's trust, and we will continue to prove that we are deserving of it. We will remain engaged with you throughout the entire process moving forward. Today's decision not only reflects our commitment to the people of Bridgeton and Missouri, but it also reflects our larger commitment to the nation to expedite the remediation of Superfund sites across the country. We owe it to the American people to get these sites cleaned up as quickly and as safely as possible, and we're making tremendous progress in that regard, in large part because of many of the people in the room here today. Thank you all for joining us today, and I'm excited to sign this record of decision and see this effort through to the very end. It is now my privilege to introduce Senator Roy Blunt, Senator for the state of Missouri. Senator Blunt serves on the Appropriations Committee, the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, the Select Committee on Intelligence, the Senate Rules Committee. He's the Chairman of the Rules Committee and Chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health Services, and Education. As you can see, Senator Blunt is a very busy man, and we're grateful for your attendance here today.
Thank you, Administrator. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Administrator. We are pleased to be here. This has been a frustrating challenge for all of us to deal with. All of the time I've been in the Congress, all of the time I've been in the Senate, we have been pushing to find a solution here. Senator McCaskill and I on the Senate side actually passed some legislation to take this away from EPA, who continue to miss deadline after deadline. But that was then and this is now. Congressman Clay and Congressman Wagner equally vigorous on the House side to continue to keep the fire burning here to get something done to get rid of the fire that was burning. Carol Comer has been great to work with at DNR. Stephen Cook, as regional director and the acting, has been great to try to find a solution. I do remember my first discussion with Administrator Pruitt. This was a top-of-the-line issue. And I also remember him saying, how could anything be a national priority for 28 years and not be done? And certainly my first discussion with Administrator Wheeler, this was a top-of-the-line issue. And fortunately, he felt the same way. Projects of national concern, of national priority, need to be treated exactly like that, just as our friends from Bridgeton know they should have been treated like that, just as the moms group know they should have been treated like that. This is an important day. We're going to be continuing to work to do everything we can at the Senate level and the congressional level to do what we can to help, what we can do to continue to encourage, what we can do to continue to see that deadlines are met. You know, this is a legacy of Missourians stepping up to be part of a project that nobody quite understood what it was at the time. The Manhattan Project, a Missouri president, then the first president to decide that this was a project at the conclusion of which could be used in World War II, but the remnants of that were still there. Nobody understanding the danger of how those things were dealt with. And so the patriotic work of Missourians has continued to be a challenge for other Missouri families in the 70 years that have followed. But to see this come to this conclusion, to see a project like this, and Mr. Administrator, the decision not to store on site, but to remove all the dangerous radioactive material, not to capsulize it there, but to move it somewhere else is something that the Congress feels good about, as well as hopefully the families that have been living with this issue for a long time, and the community that's been living with this issue for a long time. And as I said, in addition to working with Senator McCaskill on this, certainly our colleagues on the other side of the building have been vigorous in their effort, and we will continue to be vigorous to do everything we can to help you meet the timeline that you set out to get this started in about a year and get it completed in a short period of time after that. Maybe a 4.5-year total window is the window that we're going to be doing everything we can to continue to encourage. No one has been more vigorous, no one has been more committed to get this done than Congresswoman Wagner, and I'm glad that introduce her to come up to say a few things.
Big day. For well over 25 years, our community has waited for a safe and permanent solution to the West Lake Landfill. Years of delays, inaction, and and broken promises by previous administrations have given way to today's signing of this record of decision. I am grateful to the administrator and to this administration who has listened to our pleas and taken the steps to remediate the site and hold the responsible parties accountable. For me, there is nothing more important than the health and well-being of the families living near the landfill and its community. Thank you to Administrator Andrew Wheeler and his team at EPA for making the West Lake Landfill Superfund site a top priority and providing a path forward to clean up this blight. Literally since my very first day, I had been sworn in, and 40 minutes later, I received a call in Congress. About West Lake. We have worked with both sides of the aisle. I have worked with Congressman Clay and others to get this done. We have pounded our fists on tables. We have held hearings in frustration. We have demanded answers and accountability. And most importantly, we have never given up the fight. Just Moms, Dawn Chapman and Karen Nickel, the Community Advisory Group, our local elected officials, and the strong people living around the landfill in the St. Louis area, this decision is truly a testament to your dedication and perseverance. Your tireless efforts brought the national and the local spotlight to this issue and made West Lake a top priority of the EPA. It is truly an honor to represent and be a part of a community that is so very, very strong and committed. I thank you, Administrator. I thank the DNR. I thank all of those that have come to the table to make this happen. Senator Blunt, myself, Senator Caskell, and certainly Congressman Clay will make sure that we see this through. I thank you.
And now I'll sign the record of decision. Senator,
Okay. We have some more thank yous that I told you we would remember while we were sitting over there. A big thank you to the Community Advisory Group, the CAG.
Guys, stand up real quick.
Former Chair Doug Clemens. The new Chair Harvey Ferdman. And the rest of the CAG board, or those that have served on the CAG. But for me, a big thank you to Bob Mellon. Bob Mellon is the vice chair of the CAG. He is not here, but I know Bob personally and have for years, and he was my choice to be on this CAG and to get this CAG up and running. And it's come a long way, and we're proud of them. We're proud of them. Also, a special thank you and introduction since someone slipped in a few minutes ago. We caught you. Congressman Lacey Clay's office is here. Steve Engelhardt, his representative, from our council. So many words of encouragement from this man right here. So many words. Late calls, early morning calls. Dawn really pestered the heck out of me.
Sorry.
He took it well. He takes it well. Let's say that he takes it well. He's not going anywhere. Anybody else? You wanna? Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Dawn because she's gonna talk science and whatever.
Okay, so just a little bit, and then it's time for you guys to talk. We really want you guys to be able to express how you're feeling. As Karen said, this is a good decision. Is it perfect? No. And, you know, we have done a lot of thinking. I know there are people in this room that have fought this for years. Kay, fireman, Doug from the womb, practically. Kevin Camps has worked on many issues. Beth Strohmeyer, our other mama.
Oh,
Beth, of course, didn't mean to cut you off. But our right arm people, our close inner group, Kristen Camuso, stand up right now. Communications, we were struggling so bad, and she rescued us. That's all I can say. Debbie Disser in the back. Uploads all of these meetings, makes sure that the word gets out through the media, through our Facebook, through our website. Megan Beckerman, I know you're out there. The Just Mom's Tweeter, she's out there. Big thanks to her. She loves all of our junk around and shows up for everything that she can.
all of it.
And biggest thank you to Robin and Mike Daly. The Dalys were brave enough to come out, have their home tested, release the results, share with the public, and they've taken a beating. So everyone should be congratulating them and thanking them, for sure.
So I want to say this, relocation was not discussed today as far as it being in the record of decision, but it was made clear. Mark Mathieson, your state rep, Jill Shoup, Congressman Clay's office has been pushing for relocation nonstop. It takes a village. We are still pushing for that. We need all of you to push. It can be scary to stand up. Our friends in Spanish Village, we have to get them out of there. It is time, and we are in a take no prisoners mood right now when it comes to relocation. And I don't know how many of you know, but we had a report released last week that said we were right, and there's a danger to the emissions coming out of this landfill. That is why they need to go, because as long as this fire burns, there's still a risk to our friends in Spanish Village. They have got to be able to be given the opportunity to get the heck out of there and start life afresh. Nothing people are willing to go to Bridgeton City Council and help us. Mark Mathieson's over here, seeing him afterwards. This guy's going to need help. We could use all of you. So stick around because we're going to talk about that in a little while. The decision is not perfect. There is always going to be some radioactive material left at West Lake. We do have the option, aside from this victory today, we still have to have another victory on the groundwater at this site, which will need a decision. And during that planning, which we should start seeing some results coming back within the next month or two, according to EPA today, we're going to be pushing for the additional testing we were promised last year, as well as for them to remove some additional material because of the groundwater hazard. It's going to be a long process still, but we're not going anywhere. I would be lying to myself, Karen and I would, we have talked this over, for the longest time we have called for a safe and permanent solution. And everyone asks, well, why not complete? There's lots of people calling for complete remediation because, you know, yeah, you ask for more than you're gonna get. You ask for the moon. But for Karen and I, it's difficult to do that because there is a reality. Because we live in this community next to this site, we have to be honest about what is possible. And at the end of the day, at any site, once it's contaminated, a 100% cleanup is impossible. But you get as much as you can. And that is what we have always tried to do, and I think we got really close. So, with that being said, there's a lot of details in the record of decision. EPA has expressed an interest in co-hosting with the CAG and Just Moms a community meeting where they will come out and go over and talk about the record of decision. I think if you watch our Facebook Lives, you know that we were telling you guys that it's going to be kind of meeting heck this next fall all the way up into December. There's a lot of public meetings coming up. I know, fall's busy, we're asking a lot of you, but these are important. These are meetings where your actual comments are recorded and put on the record, okay? So these are the types of things that you need to go to. I think that's it. I'd like to hear from some of you. Does anybody have a comment? Does anybody want to share anything? The floor is open. Questions? We'll do the best we can.
I have a question. Since the site has never really been fully analyzed and characterized, I can't say that word, how are they going to go about doing that?
Hello. So, if you remember, did you attend do you remember the public meeting this time last year?
Yeah.
That's always been an issue. In fact, many of our Spanish Village residents have brought up the issue that even the area that's burning has never been tested. Okay? Because of OU3, part of what they're doing, they're looking at groundwater, not just radiation, but everything, groundwater, chemicals, you name it. They are tasked with finding out what is in the groundwater, how it got there. So part of that is going to be more testing of soils. Testing of soils, our understanding is for radioactive waste, of course, but also for other types of contamination like dioxin, stuff like that. So we're going to push for that work plan and for additional soil. It's our hope that they go all over the site. If you watch closely, Mark can maybe talk a little bit more about this, they are digging and installing wells on the fire side. So that is something we can work with the state. Since they're digging wells and drilling them, might as well test what you're bringing out. That's pretty logical, it's already coming out, so that's something we can work with the state on too. Does that answer your question? Mark?
Just real quick, okay, first on what you just were talking about there with the new wells. I'm assuming everybody who drives by the site has seen how it's gone from an 80-foot high above street level hill to now it's a 20-foot high above street level hill. All right, that settling has necessitated a complete change in wells from the old wells to the new wells. So they are constantly drilling new wells to accommodate for that massive settling. Now, on top of that, I've been staring at this slide right here. This health study is extremely important.
Move up front, Mark.
Okay, sorry. You guys who live here in Bridgeton especially, you need to know every bit of this health study. All right? The Department of Health and Senior Services, while they don't have the firm date down, will be in Bridgeton the third week of October to host a meeting to lay it all out for you. And they're also going to ask for public comments from you guys. Now, okay, we got the slide. You got the information here, how you can write your comments on that, but how can you even know what to say until you see it? That's why it's so important that you show up to see it laid out in front of you. If you want to look at it ahead of time, you can go to health.mo.gov/Bridgeton and read the PDF files. There's abbreviated forms as well as the full document. Just a brief synopsis, they're going to tell you that from the years 2013 through 2015, you guys were at serious risk of a lot of different health effects. All right? They're also going to try to tell you that after 2015, 2016, and on, that your health risk has been minimized. Now, my ask of you guys is to take a serious look at your family's actual health right now and respond to Department of Health and Senior Services on what your family's health is right now. Now, a lot of you may not want to come up publicly talk about your health at this meeting. There are the other options of emailing and writing letters to DHSS about your current health situation. But pay real close attention because you were at risk. Everybody living anywhere near the site was at risk. And you need to know what they're saying. You also need to know how they're trying to claim that you're not as much risk anymore.
Thank you.
Why were we at risk just during those couple of years?
Okay. Okay. So
Hang on just a second.
the question was, why were we at so much risk 2013, 15, and honestly it was probably before 13, but there was no air monitoring going on to say so one way or the other before 2013. The claim is that the mitigation efforts to reduce the smells, to reduce the amount of gases leaving the site, has reduced the risk. Now, they never say eliminated. They always say reduced. They're saying 20% less odors are leaving the site now. 20% less toxic gases are leaving the site now. All right? And I can't answer for your families on how often you're experiencing the health effects now compared to several years in the past. And that's why everyone, if you live in Terracin, if you live in Spanish Village, now is the time you have to start speaking up about your health effects. Because we're going to be talking about that hard and heavy in Jeff City, and I need everybody backing up on that.
So was this study just done within a 2-mile radius? Because I'm outside of that, but I know that I've experienced more fatigue and bronchitis and stuff in those years.
Their path of travel, where they drove around twice a day doing air monitoring, went from around this side, it went over by the Fred Weber asphalt plant, it went by Champ, it went by Pattonville High School, all the way back around. Now I forgot exactly which area you live in yourself, but it was kind of a broad area that they were looking at. Probably not all the way 4 miles down to St. Anna. There were different monitoring stations set up in different fire stations in the area. So it was not just the immediate tiny circle around the landfill. It did go out a little ways, not 4 miles.
So what did they do in order to remediate it? I mean, was it the pipeline that they put through all of our cities?
Their claim, again, is it was the EVO liner on top, and it was the leachate pumping that reduced the air exposure to the leachate and the other gases.
So yeah.
That is the claim.
Okay, so you do understand that leachate pumping goes into an open sewer under I-170?
Oh, I do
Flows all the
understand
way to
that.
Whistle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Has the EPA or DNR responded to this report that came out?
The EPA has not to me, and I have asked the DNR for a response. I'm still waiting on that one as well. The Department of Health and Senior Services claims that both of those agencies were part of writing this report, though. But I'm still waiting on further answers from within.
My question is, they're saying that it's okay now, or however they're putting it. but there's no air monitoring right now, so how would they know if it's fixed or not? They're not monitoring it anymore.
Let's talk about that. There is not, no, I hear you.
It's easy to say it's fixed when you're not looking.
Right. The monitors that exist now are owned and operated by the owner of the landfill, which I have a problem with as well. The DNR insists, and again, it's going to be us holding their feet to the fire to ensure that they really are going on site and to ensure that the monitors are still working. But
I just can't understand how they can, how they can say, okay, it's better now, when they have no monitoring to tell us it's better.
Right. And I need you at that meeting in October saying that directly to them, because I can say it till I'm blue in the face, and I need every one of you saying that exact same thing to them. Yes.
Mark, with this decision, is their decision, this is 5 years old. It's a day late, $1 short. I mean, we were exposed to, we didn't need a monitor. We had nosebleeds, we had headaches, I had rashes. I had all of my fish die in my fish pond when this was going on, and they just kept telling us everything is great. And you're going to leave us, they want to leave us in Spanish Village while they're doing this, and then probably 5 years after they get this remediated, oh, there was some harm to you. But we don't want to be sacrificial lambs anymore. We want out of there. Get us the hell out.
And that's exactly what we need. We need you guys to use your voice. You people in Spanish Village, you are going to have to stand up and fight this battle with us. No more silence. You've got to stand up and fight.
Do all the people in Spanish Village, do they know this report's out?
John, a lot of people in Spanish Village are afraid because of legal fees, legal things. I can't say settlement or anything.
Right.
They cannot talk. They're afraid to talk. I mean,
Even about this?
They are afraid to talk.
They don't understand they can talk.
They don't think they can talk.
A lot of the owners aren't there, aren't on, they've moved out and are renting their property.
Oh, a lot of them.
Okay.
A lot of them.
Okay.
Everybody around.
So all the renters then, obviously people that are running these properties probably don't know about this.
Yeah, they have no idea.
They have no idea. And then after they sign leases, then they come knocking at some of the older folks' homes and say, I've heard these rumors that maybe it's not safe, that I shouldn't have moved in here and signed a contract.
And maybe something you can do for us, Mark, is make it have to be disclosed. If you're going to buy a home in Spanish Village, this should be disclosed. It does not have to be disclosed right now. And I mean, we've had people come up to us with kids, and they basically were crying, saying, what is this? I said, well, you have to go to the website and find out. And it has not been disclosed. That's just awful.
Can we do, is there a, can this be mailed out? Maybe not by you, but is there a way to mail it out?
Once the date is released, DHSS will be sending out their own messaging. I've already sent out a letter through my office telling you where you can go online to read this report and respond. But my office is only so big, so it's only going to the Bridgeton residents. If you're in Maryland Heights, make sure you go into the health.mo.gov/Bridgeton.
So maybe we need to talk about mass mailers stuff, and we can brainstorm that afterwards. Yeah, maybe San Luis County can do it, or talk about mailers or something, so. Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about a company who lied about the fire and failed landfill management 101, causing the fire. They failed the dealing with leachate. They failed sewage treatment 101. They've done all these things, and we're supposed to trust them even though they've been lying to us all along about what's in the air. And it's not what we can smell that hurts me. It's what I can't smell that hurts me.
No, you're right, and I will tell you this too, because I forgot to mention it earlier, and this has been mentioned in the press. It looks as though Republic and Exelon, the PRPs, have decided that they are going to fight this record of decision. So throw the good corporate neighbor narrative out the window. But if you watch that press release, and I would watch it again, EPA told us today that they are ready to force them to do this. They do not anticipate that there will be a stall. They have methods they can use. They have authorities within EPA to do like a unilateral decision and get the work done. So we really have to hold EPA accountable, we have to hold the elected officials accountable, but I'll tell you, if that's more than a rumor, if that's more than just them trying to look macho in the press, and it turns out they really are trying to sue this, you guys need to be going to your manners, because that's the ultimate sign of a bad corporate neighbor right there.
Ours is where it's gonna cut the grass.
Wow.
Well, it's about the DHSS study. I think you guys were, the question was trying to figure out what you've been exposed to and what harmed you. The two predominant chemicals were sulfur compounds, and that's what you were smelling. And the other one was benzene. And benzene came up pretty high, and I'm not sure, I don't think you can smell benzene, but if you look it up, benzene is a carcinogen. It can cause a lot of different nasty things. If you're having issues, please tell your doctors that you may have been exposed to benzene. Yeah, leukemias and things like that. There's a whole, that's the one that DHSS really kind of flagged in their briefing. The other thing I want to mention as far as air monitors go, the CAG, as you heard, I'm sure, the CAG has approached St. Louis County and asked them to entertain bringing up air monitors, and they have agreed to meet with us to discuss it, so we'll keep you posted.
And I think it's important that a group get together, a group just for dealing with and wanting air monitors needs to get together, and we can make introductions. It's great that the CAG's doing it, we've done it as well, but we need to pull you guys in. We need to get you guys more involved. We need to get a group of you that can form an air monitor committee or whatnot, can meet with St. Louis County, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to establish relationships. Well, Karen and I were just talking, you know, just watching two members of Congress up there talking. I mean, it's amazing. But even the ones you didn't see, Claire McCaskill and Congressman Lacey Clay, that is hours of not just us going to them, but that's hours of their staff doing so much research in order to get to the point where they're in a position to help push for what needs to happen in this landfill. With the new elections coming up in November, for some, we're going to have to start all over again, okay? This is just what happens. It doesn't mean we don't have allies. It just means we have to start from scratch. And that is a very tedious process. It starts with building trust. And we could use your help. You are the voters. You are their constituents. We would like to be able to pull some of you in to help us meet one-on-one with them, and so that they can have you to communicate with, and you can better be upfront and communicate your needs. Yeah, Tanya?
What I think is most disgusting is this is 2018, and that report was put out for 13, 14, 15, and they're just now telling us that we were poisoned in our own homes. They knew back in 13 and 14 and 15 that we were being poisoned. And I want people to also look at, we've got animals. 1 year ago, almost today, my 20-pound dog was found dead laying out in the yard. The vet has no clue why. No clue.
And the neighbors too.
And the neighbors a year prior. There is something wrong in the fact that they sat there knowing that we were being poisoned all this time and decided all of a sudden now, a week ago, to tell us that we've been poisoned.
You would think they would have looked at the data a year in.
They did.
Checked it out.
They did, though.
They did. They've known all along.
Tanya makes the important point. I'm going to pop your world view bubble right now. If you think for a minute that when there's a problem, somebody's going to come out immediately and knock on your door and let you know, it's never going to happen, and this is proof. That is not what happens. I can say that because I was one of them. That was the hardest thing for me to come to grips with. It's still hard. It was hard to sit in this meeting. It was hard for Mark. It was hard for Harvey to sit in this meeting and see this and to know that we've been harmed and nobody told us, but instead they gaslit us, made us feel like we were hysterical. We were hysterical housewives that were bored, and nothing's going on here. You're just, you know, you're scared. You're scaring everybody, and we were right. And he looked us in the eye, because I screamed and got, I said, do you mean to tell me we were right, and you made us feel like said, yes, you were right. And then he said, and I'm sorry.
I'd like to comment too that they didn't check for alpha and beta in any of that.
No.
They didn't test for any radiation. There was none in that area.
So what I'm telling you though is that you guys, everybody listening to this, you're going to have to step up and be your own advocate. If you want to be protected, then you need to step up and help protect yourself going forward. Because these agencies are not going to do it for you. We are trying. We are doing the best we can, even with this decision. You know, there were there still are billion-dollar corporations that are so angry today over this decision that came out today. Okay? A small group of people from Bridgeton and the surrounding area can move many mountains. You just got to be persistent. But it's going to take everybody. You got to be like water. You got to be persistent and constant and carve your way through.
Well, there's no cancer in our family. And Tara Sands just mentioned the trailer court. My mom lived there for 10 years, which is walking distance to the entrance of that building. She passed this past January of 4 or 5 different types of cancer. And so there is something going on there. Another question. Does anybody in this room know what happens when radioactive activity stuff collides with fire? If they don't get that fire, what would happen?
Well,
becomes smoke, which would go with prevailing winds, which would contaminate St. Charles. If you look at the wind charts, prevailing winds over the landfill go to St. Charles, which would take a path about 30 miles basically from the landfill to the bridge, and about 30 miles farther out would be in a contamination zone. But one thing about your federal reports, I spent 22 years in the military.
When you're talking to the microphone, so they can hear you, if you're comfortable.
I'll tell you one thing about government reports, as far as I'm concerned. Every one of them should be started with the catchphrase, once upon a time.
So this gentleman asked what happens if the fire hits the waste, and this gentleman gave an incredibly accurate and honest account, which is, it's going to go far. It's going to go up in the smoke, it's going to go far, the prevailing winds will carry it. These are small, tiny particles. Right, and you cannot smell radiation. That's right, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't be able to taste it or smell it, because you can't taste or smell radiation.
Don, I got a comment about this, so before you just came out. Chris Costner started a lawsuit back when he was Attorney General. All of a sudden, we get this settlement. People think we won a great deal with Holly. And this came out. He settled this right before this report came out. And a lot of people think we got something out. That settlement was none of the residents can be helped by this. This went to some type of program that I believe Washington U is in charge of, and where it's going to go. It's not going to help the residents. I mean, why would Josh Hawley, knowing this report, or should have known if he was doing his due diligence, that this report was going to come out, and he makes this settlement right before this report comes out, and we're here, people think, you guys got something. No, the residents, we're just sitting there and nothing can come.
Who thinks that? Are you here? You are hearing this?
People.
Okay.
We won something. It's like.
Okay, so that's.
Because we cannot get bought out. We can't use that money.
No,
we can't use that money.
Okay, so that's 3 parts. So, yes, there was a settlement and there was a community benefit fund set aside that legally cannot be used for Spanish Village residents. So no resident in Spanish Village will this go to, or any individual. Any individual, or can it be directly given to them to help them. It can be applied for by 501c3s and other organizations to do different things within the community. But for these people that desperately want to be bought out and need, not just want, but need to be bought out, it cannot go to them nor any individuals too. Did Paulie know that this was happening before the settlement? I do not have an honest answer for
They should
that.
have known. I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna be honest.
Mark, can you address anything?
I'll be honest, what you're taking
We don't know.
is all they got was a get out of jail free card. That's all they got. The settlement means nothing to us, means nothing to this community. I mean, they can build a park,
so
find
the
some
lawsuit-
more people, because guess what? All it does is allow them to basically keep breaking the law like they are.
The lawsuit
That's all it does.
under A.G. Coster was never designed for individuals.
I don't care about the individuals.
It was,
The point is make them pay. If they're not gonna do what they're supposed to do, then don't settle with them. That's what the law is for. Not to give somebody a get out of jail free card, get a pass, eat poison everybody. Which is exactly what that says happened.
There were things that I like about that settlement and things that I don't. What I like about it is the fact that Republic now has to pay for everything, because otherwise, and if they'd have walked away, really, the site's too expensive, and it would have been difficult to get anybody to step up. And then all the monitoring and infrastructure that supposedly has kept the emissions down would go away. But there is the other side of it that he's bringing up, which is that under this settlement, it's like they paid into a community benefit fund, but part of the settlement was an agreement that they have to meet certain criteria and qualifications, but they are not, they're not being funded. And they're not, as long as they are
health, safety, and environment.
right, as long as they are doing what the state thinks is a good faith effort, they can't be held accountable right now for what's happening at the site, what's coming out of it.
They cannot use, from my understanding, they cannot use those funds either to do their own air monitoring for the community.
No, and then here's the issue with air monitoring, because I want to bring this up. We really have to have an agency doing this. Like Harvey mentioned, either St. Louis County, EPA, DNR. It'd be great if when they're doing it, they can split samples and results. That would be great so that we can double check and make sure that there's some honest reporting going on. But when you think about air monitors, you have to watch them 24 hours a day, so that's hiring 3 full-time people to calibrate it and watch it, a data collector, a health physicist to go over the data, and you also have to find somebody that's willing, because I'll tell you, anybody with an air monitor, you're gonna be open to a lawsuit. You're gonna be open to a lawsuit, they're gonna subpoena you, they're gonna ask for the results. And the other thing that's scary is if citizens or anybody that runs this air monitor, what happens if they make a mistake? What happens if when they're reading the air monitor, they mess up, they missed a decimal point and there was a risk and they didn't alert somebody?
Just wait 10 years to
Right. So this is something that an agency has to do, and frankly, this is something that agencies are charged to do. This is what they should be doing. So we have to find somebody that's going to do it and be accountable to us. That's the tough thing. I know everybody immediately thinks, well, let's go out and raise funds and buy a bunch of air monitors. It's not that simple. It really isn't. Anybody else? I'll buy a lot. Todd?
With the EPA, who will be monitoring them, and when will we expect a drop-dead decision on, like, I guess, updates? That's what I want to hear about, is
A month.
1 month, okay.
1 month, they're supposed to come back. They'll have an answer to who the responsible parties are for the groundwater by then, hopefully, okay? Then they'll also have, they are working right now on implementation. So they'll have some sketches and some ideas of what they think it's going to look like when they start to do work at this site. Like where the parking lots are going to go, where the rail spur is going to go, you know, all sorts of things like that. They have promised that they will host public meetings. They will come out and speak with us. We have told them, you know, we've worked with them, the CAG has worked with them. We've told them more public meetings, more getting out. We find, even though a lot of you are tired of meetings, this type of setting is the best because somebody's asking a question that I don't think of, you know, and then everybody gets to hear the answer. And that's how we hold them as an agency accountable. Yes, John.
So I was wondering, what are all the chemicals and points of radiation and things that people need to look out for?
So It's a great question. There are hundreds of chemicals leaving this site. The radiation, there's 3 different types. There's, think of when you go to get an x-ray, there's gamma, the rays, and then there's alpha and beta, which are particles. Those are the scary ones where you breathe them and ingest them, and they stay in. Here's the thing, and I think you caught that in that report. I know Ed's caught it, I know Donna's caught it, but in the reports, it talks about 2 brand new chemicals, never seen before on this earth, that have just been discovered at this landfill. They don't have names. They've assigned an unknown so-and-so and unknown so-and-so. But when Mark talks about them, I know, he's shaking, you're so angry right now. You're the color of the chair right now, Mark. No, but it is, and you know, it's, so just step back for a minute. So not 1, but 2 brand new toxins, never known to man, have just been created. They don't even have names. They don't even, nobody even knows. They could be like cyanide. Nobody even knows what they do to humans. So, and that was listed in this report, and I found that interesting because as Mark said, they keep saying there's no health risk. They're talking, I know. He's angry. Right. Right. So, but these are the things, this is why we need you at this public meeting with DHSS. Because we need to be shooting this at them. Yes.
I've done some research and I've been learning about radioactive materials on people. And the thyroid is an iodine-hungry gland, and that's our throat. And it controls regulates our hormones, basic body functions, does a lot for the body basically. And there's a radioactive iodine can occur in radioactive areas, and it's called iodine 131. And so if you're low on iodine in your body, we're going to absorb this from our environment because that's what the thyroid does. It loves iodine. So you only get iodine using from sources like really high amounts from seaweeds, also iodized salt, foods that fortified with it. And but there's also a tree that grows around here. It's called a black walnut tree. You probably are familiar with them. They leave green nuts around. They're high in iodine, and it's a natural source they use in Fukushima with people with radiation poisoning. And just recently, at the St. Louis Eco Village, we collected walnuts and we made tinctures. It's just a topical one. We didn't make it an internal type. We used frozen alcohol, but we made tinctures. And to get an iodine supplement, you just have to put it on your skin. So they put it on people's knees, they put it on an elbow, and it'll absorb. And you can see if you're iodine deficient and you put it on you, your skin absorbs it within 30-40 minutes. That means your body really needed iodine. It takes longer than you typically will. But I made a bunch of little information things.
Oh, great.
Back.
Yeah.
So it tells you about the property of the plants, what it does, and how we have something around in our environment, in our community that we can use to help protect ourselves from it. I grew up by Coldwater Creek, and it's the people that I see, what happens to them, it's horrible, So.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Questions, comments,
I really hope that somebody from Republic is in this room, because I want you to tell them, your boss, your whoever, that the anger that this community has felt from day one has been building, and now that the proof is out, if you fight this, you better be ready. That's all I got to say. Expect those.
Anybody? Byron.
I'll just be a complete nerd. Iodine is not one of the products that comes out of the landfill, probably. It's a reactor product, like tritium and some other things. But you're absolutely right that radioactive substances are taken into the body and mimic the chemicals that are coming into your body. And so that's part of the danger, particularly with alpha and beta emitters that come into your body. They will continue, you can pass away and your body could be cremated and the radioactive material will go up out of the smokestack and contaminate somebody else. So the gamma radiation is an issue at the site, but the alpha and beta emitters are the main concern. And when we talk about the wind blowing, it could go to St. Charles County, it could go to New City.
That's right.
They could go in any direction depending on the weather, the humidity. We know from 3 Mile Island, for example, and some other nuclear accidents that a plume would theoretically come up. And it's hard to know in what direction, but it would be a danger for everyone in the metropolitan area. Just like drinking the water is every day with the waste from the site.
Right. It could. Byron brings up a good point. It isn't as though we don't know and we can't imagine what could go wrong at this site. We know that, we're logical people. I think that's why today is so important, and that is why going forward, we're not trying to scare you, but this truly is a scary site. And while today was a victory, we have more. Because of what Byron just talked about, because of what this human over here just talked about, is why we have to get them out of there. It's why they can't be there. Because there isn't even a tiny, there's nothing that can go wrong that isn't immediately going to affect these people. And I'm not even just talking radiation, I'm talking fire. I'm talking a rip in the cover. And as Mark explained, you already had the threat. You were already harmed once. How many times is it okay to harm these people before we finally say, okay, enough, we're sorry, goodbye. So, does anybody, yeah.
So I just had a question about, since we're talking about the air, and this is in the air, so we've got a lot of local farms that we buy produce from. We have children that play out on the playgrounds. My big thing was BMAC, always has been, about kids playing outside. That needs to be brought up in Bridgeton City Council again, along with public services not being allowed to be your trash collector anymore. If you're going to allow them
Well, and I think Beth brings up a really important point, and so the Department of Health and Senior Services, along with this, put out a list of they've always had recommendations, but this is real. They're pretty strong and straightforward, and I've got kids that go to Pattonville, Mark does too, but yeah, at this point, to have them out in the odor is a liability for the school district. I mean, because harm has occurred. So, same thing with BMAC. That is the way to look at it. If they're not worried, I don't know how they could be, but there are those. If they're not worried about what this is going to do to the kids, they should be worried about the liability of what could happen should a parent bring their kid out and everybody tell them it's fine, and then they discover that this is out and nobody told them about it from Bridgeton. So there's a lot. This report has some pretty serious implications across the board, even legally.
All I wanted to ask is I watched the video of the congratulatory politicians, and I listened to all of what everyone said here. And I'm just wondering what is going to be reported, because what we know in this room is not what the public knows. What the public knows is what they see in a minute and a half expose on the news. And I got a feeling that what they're going to get is the congratulatory politicians, and what we're talking about here is not going to be known by anybody except in this room.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And that right there is probably the most frustrating thing. And I will tell you, we've got good reporters too, that are frustrated by it because they have producers. There was a good story that was going to run on Channel 5 and it got bumped. That sort of thing. Probably because it was good. Probably because it was accurate, I don't know. But if we're being honest, yeah. I think that that is something that we definitely need your help, because we have social media. That's what we use. You'll see us do Facebook Lives. Debbie tapes these, these are all taped and put online, but we have to, as a community, come up with a better way to get this out. he's right. So, yes.
Hi there. I actually watched an expose. There's been some people that have been looking at the medical community and seeing like what higher risks of cancer there are in certain areas as opposed to other parts of the country, as well as also the parts of St. Louis. And they were showing that a lot of people were suffering from thyroid and higher amount as well. Most nuclear places like Chernobyl, they waited 40 years. So if they did know about this during the Manhattan Project, it's possible that they would just say, in the best interest, monetarily wise, they just wait it out for complete ignorance or insanity. But looking at health, people that live in the area would be not the ones that make those decisions. So that, I think for the most part, anybody that is dealing with these kind of medical things now, they can be cheaply from Mother Earth, block some of the damn dangers that are out there. But you can also then, ask for restitution because a lot of people, even their children, perhaps your pets, and there's no real way to know how it's going to affect each genome. Genomes are completely different too. So we're talking about like how RNA differs from being in contact with radioactive isotopes like the gamma radiation and alpha particles, which can be trapped inside too. It's one of many white children are born with cancer. That's not normal. That's obviously the mother's intaking is a high level enough to cause her body not to be able to take all that cancer for the baby because mothers normally take punishment for their children because of their environment and all that stuff, protection and focus. But anyway,
That's a good point. I know this church is going to start doing Qigong, I think is what it's called. That's going to start. There's a lot of ways you can get involved, like these humans over here are doing, there's the health side of things, right? Trying to minimize what's already happened, which for a lot of people is hard because a lot of these people, by the time they find out what's happened, then they realize they've already been harmed, right? So there's that. There's the, preventing it from happening for future generations. And then that's really where the Spanish Village buyout comes in, because it's getting these people out so that it doesn't happen to them. Or if it's already happened to them, then getting them out so that we can stop that exposure. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a resident of Spanish Village. And, I think about the American dream. What is the American dream? To be a homeowner, to invest in your community and be part of a wonderful community. When we moved into Spanish Village, it was that. It was a nice subdivision. You knew your neighbors. They were good people. I've lost many neighbors to cancer. And it is terrifying to think about being up there when they dig all of that stuff up. I remember a few years ago when they were pumping the leachate out, and all of us who lived up there had to cross over that big thing with that rickety bridge. I couldn't sleep at night. I could not sleep at night. And I think, okay, should we just walk away? This is our biggest investment, as it is most Americans. It's your biggest investment. I can't walk away, I can't afford to walk away, but yet I can't afford to stay here. Should we sell? Should we leave it and rent it? What obligation do I have to tell people? Or ethically, should I sell? Should I rent? All of these things are going on in my mind, and I think somewhere along the line, something has been broken down because somebody has broken my promise of the American dream. I'm tired. I want to be bought out, period.
Randy wants to say.
Hang on, we got one here. Thank you. This is a quick question. I applaud all of you for all your hard work that you've done. And I just have a quick question. Here, it sounds like we just double speak, but it says the EPA also has an active monitoring program in place to ensure that air, stormwater runoff, and the off-site sediment soil do not contain unacceptable levels. So when you say that it's up to the company that's in charge of the site, is that two different things?
No, it's one and the same.
It's one and the same, and that's the problem.
So it exists, but it doesn't exist, because you were saying that you need to have agencies do the air monitoring, but so what they're doing is not happening? Is that what you're saying?
Republic is doing their own air monitors, and if you drive, man, they look like little satellite dishes. They're weird looking. They're like on a tripod, a metal circular thing when you drive this side. Those, I think, are radon monitors. So they measure the radon coming out of the sides. But we all know there's more than radon coming out of the sides. So that is the problem with those. And we don't have any data, any current data on them. So that is one of the things that we have written down to ask EPA. What are those monitors? Are they these monitors? If not, where are those monitors? And oh, by the way, what are these monitors? And can we see what's coming out of these? You know, so we left this meeting today with a list of questions to go after and ask EPA. And we knew we would, but thank you for reading and looking deeply into it. That's right. Randy.
I have a couple questions to the Spanish Village residents that are here. I sense that you think there should be some kind of disclosure by homeowners that are selling or renting their houses. Is that right? About the landfill and the radio? Okay. Now, I agree with that. Now, how do we do that? Let me ask Mark. Would that be a federal, a state?
Oh, no, we can get a state bill passed on that.
Okay. I'd be willing, I mean, I'll talk to our mayor and see if he can consult with our city attorney and see if there's any way the city can require that or make that mandatory. So I'll start on the bottom.
It could be possibly handled on the county level as well, so we should address that one on top of the state level.
Okay.
Maybe if you guys can do it locally, that'd be.
Yeah, that's another problem that we have to face. Because, we don't want to sell to anybody else. But if you do that, you're not going to buy us out. What are you people doing? Just hand it to us and leave it with us too? I mean, that's the battle we fight all the time.
We're cutting our own throats. Right. Now, what I'd like to see happen, and maybe there's somebody in the room that can think about this and brainstorm, but, the Spanish Village property, people should have lived there in that area, on the mobile home park. But that does not mean that that land isn't valuable. What about putting a solar farm or a wind farm up there? It seems like it could be a good investment opportunity for someone to come in, buy those people out, get it out, and maybe, like I said, solar farm, wind farm. I mean, come on, I bet they'd make enough money. What if the federal government bought an Iverson orbit and turned it into a cemetery? Whatever, I don't know, but it doesn't have to just be discarded land. Right back here, Don. Yep.
Yes, Don. Is there any restitution financial for people that have been affected by the effects of Coldwater Creek and West Lake Landfill, who have cancer, that are sick at this time? Is there any programs available or that you're aware of?
No, and I'll tell you why. And here's the thing. There are programs that exist out there. There's one called a Downwinder program through the Department of Justice. And it's specific to like Nevada and places like that where they tested the atomic weapons and then the fallout blew on them. But that is like Superfund, we know this, we know Superfund's broken. That is a broken program. That program is a mess. It's terribly underfunded. There are states, I mean, I'm sure the Congressman's office can verify, there are states and towns there are lists of people that are waiting to be applied to that program. It isn't big enough. It wasn't meant to encompass all of the uranium processing sites, that sort of thing. So what we would have to do is either beef up that program or create a new and lobby Congress for a new program that would cover whatever it is, because we're not downwinders. Downwinders was downwind of the blast sites. Eric, this is where we were just talking. The Japanese have a name for themselves. They call themselves the Hibakusha. There has to be a name for what's happened to us and what's happened at Coldwater Creek. There has to be, because it's different, right? It's not from the testing of the atomic weapons, it's from processing and malfeasance from the government, from the waste.
Right. What about the class action lawsuits that are pending at this time? Are they bearing any fruit, or
I would tell you, given this report, and by the way, I have to put this disclaimer, I can't believe we have to put this disclaimer up. Karen and I are not involved in any litigation. We're not involved with any lawyers, nor can we be, because we're way too vocal and lawyers don't like people that speak out of turn. That would just, and I'm not going to shut up about it. But this form, this new report is like lawyer heaven. So if there isn't anybody, you can be sure they will be. We can't tell you what to do lawyer-wise. We just say be careful. But the truth is that if you have been harmed by this and you're looking for some sort of compensation, that may end up being your best option because there isn't anything else in place to apply us to. Does that make sense? One of the things, this gentleman right here.
I don't want a Band-Aid, I want to.
Right, you want to leave. Well, and I don't think lawyers are going to be able to help you. I think you guys need to go. But for everybody else, maybe they can help. But not for you guys. You guys, no, it's done, it's over with. It's time to Control-Alt-Delete and start afresh. Somebody else, somewhere else where you can have an American dream. Because you've been emotionally abused in your home. You'll never be able to feel in your home in Spanish Village the way you felt when you first moved here. You're never going to feel safe. Nobody can give that back to you, and that's reason enough for them to move you out.
Well, I could never receive enough compensation for losing my daughter. I was born in Spanish Village when they were illegally dumping, but I don't understand why I have hair that could be tested. I have dinosaur teeth for my children that could be tested, but nobody wants to do it because the truth would come out.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head. You were fighting the size of this problem. It's such a big problem that encompasses so much. It's hard to get to the truth because the truth has, this has tremendous consequences, just from the emissions. And I know you and I have talked, all your rashes, all that, right here. Absolutely 100% confirmation. All the bloody noses, right there. I did. I saw picture after picture. Right here. It's verified.
I'd like to reiterate that they're not monitoring it anymore.
I know.
There's no air monitoring right now, besides what they're doing themselves, supposedly.
Yeah, Kevin.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Camps, and Kadra is my big boss. I work at Non-Nuclear as the radioactive waste specialist in Helmut Park, Maryland, near Washington, D.C., and she is our board president. And one thing I wanted to share, a question was asked that reminded me of Rachel Carson, who wrote Silent Spring in 1962, the birth of environmental protection in the United States. And she had a warning in that book about the synergistic effects of radioactivity and toxic chemicals. So granted, she was talking about atmospheric fallout from nuclear weapons testing and pesticides, but it applies here because there's toxins in the dump, there's radioactivity in the dump. So what it means is synergistic means that the sum of the parts is greater than just adding them. It multiplies. So there's a multiplication of risks and harms from the combination of the two together. And the other thing I was going to raise tonight, well, in addition, Beyond Nuclear has a radiation and health specialist, Cindy Bolkers.
Yes.
She would be, honored to work with people here to answer questions. But one thing I want to change my hat for a minute. I also serve on the board of Don't Waste Michigan. That's where I come from. And one of the export sites mentioned in the news coverage and in the record of decision is a place in Michigan. It's called U.S. Ecology in Wayne County, Michigan. It's Detroit. And that is one of the targeted places for removal of these contaminants to take it there. And there are multiple sites of U.S. Ecology in Wayne County, Michigan. I don't know which one they're talking about, but the one that I visited, it looks like you can reach out and touch downtown Detroit. It's called Amtrak in Wayne County, Michigan. It's one of these, economically devastated areas of Detroit. And they've dealt with fracking wastewater, which is also radioactive, naturally occurring radioactive material. But the thing is, just to put it on your radar, that where these targeted sites in Colorado, in Idaho, in Utah, people live there too, there's gonna have to be some communication between your communities, because, you know, I can say for Wayne County, Detroit, that that is a very problematic proposal. And I didn't even know until Ed from Coalition for the Environment told me that Coldwater Creek contamination has already been moving to U.S. ecology in Wayne County, Michigan. I didn't know that. A relatively small quantity. But the folks up there who are gearing up to try to protect their communities, just to get that on the radar, that our communities need to talk. So,
Yes, we do. Any more questions or comments?
Well, we have consistently said the waste should be moved away from population and from water. And
Yes.
move into another population.
There is a safer place than where it is right now.
Correct.
And by the way, I forgot to thank someone. So hold. Thank you, Donna Clockey, for all your
I love the 1 a.m. emails from her. A lot of insight. I just want to say one thing. I am proud of everyone sitting in this room, whether it's the first time you've been to one of these meetings or whether you've been with us for years and years and years. I'm not thrilled about the decision, but I have a mechanical mind, and I started thinking about how we're going to address OU3, the groundwater piece, and I started thinking about a lot of other things through the day, and I walked into this meeting, and I'm like, I'm going to be the only person sitting in this room thinking about what's next. But everybody here has been focused on what's next, what's next, what's next. God love you all. Thank you so much.
Any more questions? I hope not. Dawn's not here. We are really proud of our community. We have a reason to be proud. I know this isn't any consolation to those of Spanish Village, but no, you didn't know you were poisoned. You didn't know until 5 years later. I didn't know either. I didn't know I was being poisoned as a child until 30 years later. Double poisoned. You know, that's what we have to prevent. Dawn and I are fighting this for you guys. We really are. As I said, Bob Nolan, his personal friend, he lives in Spanish Village, and he was my first thought when I learned about this issue. And I knew at that point that I had to get my friend out of there, and through this fight, we've met so many more friends that we care so much about. So just know, every day we think about you guys, every day we fight for you, and we're going to get you out. We are going to get you out. Just know that. Okay, I want to run through a couple things here real quick. There is a care fair, a health fair, very important, coming up on Saturday, 10 to 12 at the Overland Community Center. There will be upwards of about 40 vendors there that you can stop in for free screenings, free flu shots, free trigger locks, just an amazing assortment of things. Free, 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 free. You need to go. You need your screenings. You need to go. Free, free, free. It is being hosted by Jill Shoup, Art Mathieson, and some other reps. Please try to get out there for that. Don't forget that on Saturday. What else, Deb?
Yes, Franciscan Sisters.
Franciscan Sisters of Mary, don't forget, they're still doing their prayer vigils every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, weather permitting, 10 a.m., October 10th, 24th, and November 7th. Hi, Ed. What's your name?
My name's Ed. I work for Missouri Coalition for the Environment, and tomorrow evening we're having a new members event at our office on South Grand, 3115 South Grand. It's at near the intersection of Arsenal grant by Tower Grove Park. We have a rooftop deck on our building with cool views of downtown St. Louis and it overlooks Tower Grove Park. We are a member-based organization. We count on members to support our organization. I've really rarely, if ever, made any pitches to this community about money or membership to our organization. But shameless plug on a day that means a lot to a lot of people.
Thanks for that. Is that on your website?
Yes.
Okay. We'll try to get it up on Facebook as well. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So we are up in the air about our October meeting. One thing that we've been trying to get out to you guys for the past couple of weeks, but have been unsuccessful because all of the news that's been coming out, Just Moms STL partnered with WashU, a professor from WashU. Eric, would you stand up, please? This is Eric. He received a Gephardt grant to do a project. I'm not going to go into it. It is making the invisible visible. And they're going to be working on markers, and they want to interact with the community. We tentatively right now are going to hold a meeting October 18th. That will take place at our community meeting. As of right now, I know you said that DHSS is going to...
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be in that third week of October.
Okay, so be looking for that. Information to come. It is going to be amazing. I can't tell you how excited we are about this. Eric's going to talk about it on that date, and if you have any questions now, you can ask him, but we are super, super excited about working with him and his students on the awareness that they're going to bring to this community. And others all over, other sites, everywhere. It's amazing. Can't say enough. So that's it. You guys can go. Go home.
Thank you, Dawn.